Kumo, I'm glad that you're able to be here to be able to talk as well about your business, Ethnic Kids.
When you're bringing people into your business, it's very important to share the original vision of, and why did you start? Why is it important? Where are we going? So that they're able to get onto the bus and head in the same direction as you. So I think that's really, really important. And then you need to be very resilient. It's not going to be easy. Most businesses don't last, don't survive actually. So you really need to be resilient, and how you do that is that you need to take care of yourself.
As you're growing your business, make sure to take time to document the templates for all the different elements of your business, including checklists. So, templates, that can even be in the form of, something as simple as having a sales script in terms of how to create sales within your business. Hi, monetizers, and welcome to another episode of Monetize Your Business podcast, which we are very proud to be in partnership with F&B. I'm your host today, Papa Biz, and I'm excited for the conversation that we're going to be having with our guest, Kumo. Before we get into that, just something I've been thinking about during the week, actually, and it came from a book that I finished called How to Persuade and Get Paid. And one of the things that it spoke about, and I've used this actually in our masterclass segments in the workshops, is as you're growing your business, make sure to take time to document the templates for all the different elements of your business, including checklists. So, templates, that can even be in the form of, something as simple as having a sales script in terms of how to create sales within your business, and different templates that you can use as well, just so that, in terms of the staff that you end up having, so they can also be able to duplicate your efforts. It's interesting, we had a conversation with a gentleman at a workshop we had previously in Mabopane, a furniture business, and he was struggling to make sure that his team would produce furniture on the level of quality that he would have. And one of the things that we got to realize was that he didn't have a checklist that the team could go through once they'd finished a piece of furniture to make sure it was at the same level and the same standard that he would have. And he's given us feedback that he's been using that checklist for the past 3 weeks, and he's been just amazed at how he's been able to pull back and allow his team to be able to develop to the quality and the standard that he's actually quite happy with. So it's something that was interesting that I found, that I thought that I'll just share with all of you as well, that can be utilized in any business that you've got. You can look at the different templates that you'll have, even things like, how to negotiate with landlords, and just document everything so that you can be able to utilize it in future for yourself or for the team when you end up growing to a bigger level. But in any case, Kumo, I'm glad that you're able to be here to be able to talk as well about your business, Ethnic Kids. But first of all, Kumo, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks, Papa.
No problem. Before we just go a little bit, if you can let us know a little bit about the business, Ethnic Kids, from your standpoint.
Oh, where do I start? So, Ethnic Kids has been around for 10 years now.
Wow, that long already?
That long? Well,
Sure.
we're in our 10th year of operation now. And how it started out was as a subscription-based service, where people would order a box, and we'd put together different languages for different genders of children, different age groups. And it actually morphed from there into an online bookstore,
Okay.
where we were now specializing in diverse and inclusive books,
Okay.
and offering books in all South African languages. And then in 2021 or 2020, we then also included publishing as part of our
Oh, nice.
offering. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's been a journey.
Okay, nice one. So that's the business now. If you can tell me a little bit just about yourself, where were you raised, just a little bit about your background.
I'm also from all over. So I was born in Bloemfontein.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then spent my formative years there. And then also lived in Mafikeng for many years.
Maftown.
Yes, so Mahikeng now. I lived there for quite a while. I went to boarding school in Grahamstown. Ended up in Cape Town, and then Joburg has been my home for the better part of my adult life.
Okay. And for yourself, that period that you would you say you grew up mostly in Mafikeng, or not really?
I think it's all over, really. Yeah. But the majority of my life, I would say, has been the longest city has been Johannesburg,
Okay.
where I've stayed.
And yourself growing up, were you only child or?
No, I've got brothers, two older step brothers. Yeah, it was
Okay.
a
And
yeah.
for you, what is it like growing up as the only girl in the family?
Fun, I guess.
Okay.
We a very close knit family. I've got lots of cousins, so I never really felt like I'm the only girl. It's always been yeah. There's always been company.
Did you feel pressure to engage like the boys would? So, I mean, for instance, in my family, myself and my brother, and then my sister. And when I look at her over the years, she's 4 years my junior. She always was, of course, looking up to us and trying to play sports as we would. But when I look back, because she was always trying to connect with us on that level, there were unintended consequences. As an example, where I remember when I look back, she was the captain of the provincial
Oh wow!
hockey team, and at that time she was the only black person in the team.
Wow.
And for her, it wasn't a big deal because she was always just trying to be like her brothers. And I used to ask her, but I mean, how did you manage her? Because I mean, this is an Afrikaans team that you're part of. She said, well, I mean, it wasn't a big deal. I was trying to be like my brothers.
Yeah, I don't know if it really affected me in that, yeah, I guess my friends say I have quite a male sense of humor. That's probably the only area where, yeah, but it's just my brothers are very, they don't make you feel like you're a girl.
Okay.
They're very gender neutral, I would say. And we were raised in a really gender neutral home. What I did, my brothers did, whether it was washing dishes, all kinds of chores. I was never made to feel like I'm the girl and they're the boys. We were treated the same.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. And then, so after school, where did you go and study? What did you study?
I studied at UCT. I did a BCom in politics, philosophy, and economics.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then I went into branding. I did my honors at Vega, that was here in Johannesburg, and did a BA honors in brand leadership.
Sure. So you studied quite a bit then, eh?
We'd like to keep learning.
What was your journey like after you had finished studying?
So after studying, funny enough, I actually worked for a publishing company called Picasso Headline. I worked as an advertising sales exec. So I literally sold advertising space in the paper. And then from there moved to be part of the editorial team and did that for about a year. Absolutely loved it, but financially I wasn't making it. And then decided to join the Nedbank graduate program. And that's how I ended up in Johannesburg. Joined Nedbank 2007. And then from there had a fairly long career in banking, financial services, asset management.
Okay. And as you were going through like these different areas and different companies, did you always feel that there was a pinch or something nudging you towards entrepreneurship, or you just stumbled across it? How did that happen for you?
That's interesting. I think I've always been fairly entrepreneurial, and even in terms of the roles that I had in corporate, I've always been in business development, which is sales. So you have to be like a self-starter, a person who's always looking for opportunities. So I think that in itself, I knew that's a space that I'd be comfortable in. Yeah, and I've always had creative ideas. It would be great to start this, it'd be great to do that. And then how Ethnikids was born, it was actually not my idea. There were five of us
Oh, wow.
that came up with the idea together as friends, and it was born out of a personal need that then morphed into a business.
What was that personal need?
So we were all friends and we were actually bridesmaids for my cousin.
Okay.
And then after all of us got married, we all then started to have babies and we were all avid readers. And then we started to ask ourselves, but if you need books for your children, or you want to read to your child in your mother tongue, where do you find the books? And we went through the different bookstores. We couldn't find the material we were looking for. And we saw that there's a problem here and there's something that we can possibly solve.
Sure. So, I mean, for many people, they might see that issue as, okay, this is a problem, and they never do anything about it. What caused you guys to think, okay, let's do something about it? How did you guys even begin?
Yeah, because if it was a problem for us, I mean, there are five of us, that's a fairly big focus group. We could see that it's probably a problem for other people as well. And then when we actually started the search, that when we really saw that we need to do something about this, nobody's really going to care about whether children of color or black children are catered to except for black people.
Yes.
So that's what made us actually decide to do something about it. We started doing a lot of research, a lot of reading into it. All of us are not from the book sector,
Oh,
all
wow.
the original founders. 3 of them were CAs. There was an engineer as well in the group. So it wasn't a territory that we were familiar with. It wasn't a space that we'd ever thought of entering. But as mothers, we saw that it was something that we actually wanted to do something about.
Okay. And so when you guys had discovered that, what were the first steps you guys took? How did the business start? I mean,
Yeah.
that's a, you know.
So at the time, remember those boxes were very popular, like subscription boxes. There was boxes for everything, for food, for wine, for this, for that, and it was all the rage. So our immediate thinking was, okay, let's start as a box. That's manageable. You get the stock, you pack it, people place their orders, and then you sell it. And it also had a sustainable nature to it because it was subscription. And we did that for about 3 quarters until it fell apart.
As it always does.
Yes, what we didn't take into account is that South Africans are really very diverse, even within our homes. So we wanted to have each language have its own box, have different age groups, have everything neatly packaged. But what happened is our customers started asking us, can you mix the box? Can you have Chivenda together with Tosa? Can you have something for a 3-year-old as well as a 7-year-old? So we saw that this is actually not going to work. What people actually desire is customization. They want to be able to make the choice. And we then had to educate ourselves on becoming an online bookstore and putting all the stock that we'd now accumulated online. And that in itself was a journey. We had to learn about payment portals and all of that. And how do you process payments? How do you set up the website? How do you have a good user experience? And yeah, that's literally how we started.
And I mean, I find it interesting. I remember with us when we had a retail business, just the sheer process to understand how to build a website, which payment gateway to you don't even understand the language. You just know that you'll ask, but guys, how do I get people to pay on this thing? Or you're looking for a payment gateway. Yes, that thing. Who
And how do you organize delivery after they've ordered?
It's
Who comes to
crazy.
collect it? How do you find the best price for wherever the people are staying? So it was all those little things that, yeah.
And for you guys, was it not? I'm just trying to think. I mean, initially there was 5 people involved. I know it's currently 2
It's 2
involved.
years.
How do you guys manage that? Because a lot of different opinions and heads, and some people take more responsibility than others. I guess wasn't that quite a challenge?
We worked well together. We
Okay.
knew this from having been a bridal team.
Mm.
That and we had different strengths, so we were able to leverage off each other. Some people were very systematic in their thinking. Mpo, our engineer, literally could just design everything, and this is how it
Nice.
should go. Other people are big picture thinkers. Other people are more detail oriented. Others were stronger in finance. So I think together it was a really good team, and we balanced each other out. I think we probably would still be working together as a team. It's just that unfortunately life has its challenges, work pressure, family
Yes.
pressure. So it didn't work for everybody to be able to continue with the business.
And in the beginning, how did you even decide what books to include? Where? How did that come about?
Yeah, so we were literally looking for books for our own children.
Okay.
So it was about making sure that it's inclusive. It was a must that they be available in all South African languages initially. It wasn't so much about commercial viability, but every person who needs access to books in their mother tongue should be able to find them. So that was a big one for us. The books needed to be wholesome. They needed to have protagonists that are positive and that are representative, because it's important that children see themselves in the material that they read and see themselves represented positively, especially when they're still developing. So that was the big thing for us, the representation.
Okay, no, that's interesting then. When you would now moved over to having the books on the online store, what is that experience like? How did you even go about figuring out how to price?
Oh, yeah, that's interesting in that the book industry works mostly on competitive pricing.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is that a book has almost like a recommended retail price, and it'll be more or less the same price across all retailers. So that helped a lot, that there's that kind of standardization. And then we also use cost pricing, so making sure that there's sufficient margin for everything that we do. But yeah, that was basically what our offering was. And making sure that we categorize it correctly, make it easy to navigate, because that's the thing about being online. It needs to be easy to navigate, especially when you have a lot of different choices. And then if you have a book, for example, that's available in all 11 languages, how do you then list? Do you list each and every title in each and every language? So those are all the little things that it took time to make decisions over.
Sure. And with marketing, how did you go about marketing the business?
So mostly digital marketing
Okay.
because our budget was thin. So we did the norm, made sure that we all on all the social media platforms, make sure we build some kind of brand identity, brand messaging, share our products, share our story, build a community, as it were. So that's been a big part of our strategy. We also use emails. So
Okay.
we've built like because people like newsletters, they want to know what's available, what's news. Yeah. So those are.
And would you find that they'd engage with the email newsletters would give you insight in terms of what they were liking as opposed to
Yeah, so very big on analytics. That's actually one of my pet projects. I enjoy seeing what the reception is like. We analyze whether it's on social media, whether it's a mail that we sent out, what time is best to send it out,
really?
what was the reception like, what was the open rate, how many people clicked through to any links that we provided, and then you almost over time refine the formula and stick to what works.
Interesting. And then okay, so now you said that there was a period where it was the online store. Explain to me the journey after that.
Yeah, so the journey after that, funny, pre-COVID, we weren't really a nation that shops online. So a lot of people would almost browse online, like our products, but wait for us to have either a pop-up event or a reading to come and buy the book that they saw advertised. So it's really about building trust with your community. So we found initially our sales weren't really that strong online. And then we went into COVID and books were deemed a non-essential item.
Yes.
So we actually couldn't trade for a couple of months. And at that time, we had to start thinking of okay, if our mission is to get the nation reading, to have kids represented in the material that they consume and resonate and identify with it, is selling books the only way that we can do that? And that's how we started expanding into publishing and other types of activities.
And how has that journey been publishing? Because that's now a new area in terms of the business.
It is. It's been very fruitful, very enjoyable, particularly for my partner Tina. I think she's a creative at heart. She's an accountant, but she's very creative, and she enjoys that process of putting something together. And it's also been very collaborative. So in a lot of our publishing projects, we've worked with many authors, different illustrators, different translators. So it's been very enjoyable, just discovering all the talents that's available in the country and working with people to create something that's so meaningful for kids.
You know what I'm seeing is that you guys don't only sell books. I mean, you're also uplifting independent authors. And so how do you go about finding them? How do you find in terms of those that you are able to work with that it makes sense to continue working with them again? Because there's different types of people and different types of energy.
We absolutely love what we do. We can read books all day, and people send us books all day. So we're finding now that when there's a new release, when there's news about a book, an upcoming book, people do generally pop us a mail or send us a message to say, please check this out. We spend a lot of time online. Our algorithm pops up all the people that we'd like to engage with. So that's been another one. And then we also do a lot of research into our subject matter. We check what some of the trends are internationally as well as locally. So that's how we're able to build relationships with different authors and different creators.
Okay. No, I think that's good because I mean it's also opening up the market to more authors to be able to be there and get their materials out into the market, which is also good because now it's developing a much bigger ecosystem than what had previously been developed. You spoke earlier in terms of you guys would do pop-ups. Can you explain a little bit to me about that?
Yes. So what we would do is that we would physically engage with our customers. We would host book readings for children where they can have an opportunity to meet the author and hear a story read to them. So we used to do a lot of those in the libraries, Santon Library, every library. We did a Gussie library tour as well. And those would serve as pop-ups where people can then purchase books as well. We also host events, storytelling festivals, book launches, so that people have an opportunity to also engage with us. We do find now that people are more comfortable shopping online. You can post about a book and they'll still buy it. But we so enjoy having those physical read alouds, storytelling sessions, especially for children. I think it's very important for them to meet an author, to hear the story, to see the mind behind the book that they love so much.
I think you'd be more able to answer this. It's something that I also do wonder about, especially in this digital age with our digital tools and so on. Are the kids still reading?
Sure, yeah, that's an interesting question in that they're reading less, definitely,
Okay.
comparatively, and you can understand why. I mean, there's a lot more competing for their attention, and it's not just a South African thing. I think as South Africans, every problem that we have, we think, oh, it's just us. Oh, our children are the only ones not reading. Oh, we're coming last and whatever. But actually, it's an international problem. In the UK, they've declared 2026 the year of reading. Australia is actively making moves to ensure that children are reading more. And the statistics are not looking good. When we started in 2016, it was found that 78% of children in grade 4, which is the end of foundation phase learning, so age 10, could not read for comprehension in any language.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Really? So that was done, what they
Sure.
call the Progress in International Reading and Literacy Study. They do that every 5 years. 2021, the figures were even worse. And we've just heard this morning that we're doing local research as well now, the Reading Panel 2030, where government and NPOs and what have you are putting in structures to ensure that we improve these statistics. They're now looking at kids lower than grade 4, and it's been found that 30% grade 1s to grade 3s can't read for comprehension
Sure.
in any language. So it's a real problem that we're facing, and children do have more competing for their time, but it's also about, there's no such thing as a child who hates to read. It's really about making sure you're able to present them with the right book, you're able to catch their attention. We have to work harder to catch their attention. And as parents, we can't just outsource that responsibility to the school.
True.
What are we doing? Are we modeling reading, or are we just scrolling on our phones? Because kids will do what you do, right?
Yeah.
So you can't expect children to be voracious readers. Meanwhile, you never pick up a book yourself. So it's really something that we needs effort from multiple parties to get right.
Because I actually saw that it was, I think it was from Finland, one of the Scandinavian countries, where they looked into the research and they'd seen that the introduction of screens, especially all these different gadgets that we utilize, they had them from a much earlier age with the schooling, where they put all the textbooks and all the different things to be able to do work. And they'd seen a dramatic downturn, as you're talking about, in the children as they go through school, the ability, as you're talking about, to be able to read from a comprehensive ability. And I've seen that what they have done now is that they are actually phasing out screens in schools, which is something that I'd never even thought about. I mean, we've had a child for the first time, and he's now 1, and my mind starts thinking about these type of things in terms of screens, because I've seen also schools here in South Africa where you're forced to buy the school's iPad or whatever, and that's where all the work and so on is downloaded. But then as I'm listening to you, it actually does have quite a detrimental effect on children's ability to, not only ability, but even desire to read.
Yeah, it's really about your cognitive ability, because your brain is the greatest computer there ever was, right? And if you are losing the ability, like attention is impacted, your memory is impacted, your vocabulary is impacted, your processing speed is impacted. And we are not saying that screens are necessarily bad. I mean, the kids learn a lot from watching the different engaging programs that they do, but it's also about providing that balance, making sure that you also give them the downtime, you also have them pursue other activities, enjoy storytelling, engage emotionally with their parents as well, because that's what story time does for kids. Increase their vocabulary. There are a lot more words found in books than there are in spoken language. So if you're not reading, particularly in a language that you're trying to learn, your vocabulary is limited. So we're not saying, banish the screens. We're just saying incorporate reading more. It actually helps. It improves the biggest computer you already have, not your phone, but your brain.
And I guess, I mean, with the type of work that and the books that you guys work with and promote, it should also have a not only a positive impact from self-esteem, but a positive impact and interest to actually read, because it's also in their language, a language that they can understand, characters that they can understand, storylines that they can be able to understand. Wouldn't that be the case?
Definitely, and that's why representation is so important. It's that mirror and window effect. I see myself in this book. I relate. It's made for me. Oh, I know a boy called Tabo at my school. This is part of my world. I am part of this world. I am a reader. You need to identify as a reader, and that's what we're helping children do. That it's not some foreign thing. It's not some kid that you can't relate to. It's not a story about snow and things that you've never seen. It's about your family, people that you know, cities that you understand, places that you've been, so that they are able to connect emotionally to the material that they're reading.
It's actually interesting. You've triggered me. My mother, she was an English teacher, high school English teacher, and she would often tell me about the frustration. I forget the name of the book, but in teaching it to the kids. And there was a part where it would talk about, I think it was the autumn in, I guess it was a European or American town. And because autumn there, it's now getting warmer. So it's discussing and describing the climate as things are getting warmer. And with us, autumn, it's now when things are getting colder. Could be the other way around. And the children in the class always struggled. They struggled. They're like, "Ma'am, I don't understand. What do you mean? It's autumn and it's changing. I don't understand what that means." Because here, that's not.
It's the
They couldn't
relatability.
conceptualize,
Yes.
and they'd struggle. And then now, when there were questions in the question paper around this, the children would struggle because they just couldn't conceptualize what was being discussed here.
And our seasons are completely different. And nothing wrong with understanding how the world works and learning about other parts of the world, but also have some material that the child can relate to, can identify with, can know that if it's June to August in South Africa, it's winter. It's not summer, like you would believe in other forms of media. So it's important that children are centered in their world as well.
Yeah, actually, this is actually brilliant because then you're having something, especially a literature, where not only they're able to identify with the characters and also identify with the language, but then now, in terms of engaging from an attention point of view, and now when you're testing their comprehension, I mean, they're far more immersed in the material.
It's
So now when you
about
want
that
to test the
immersion.
comprehension, I mean, they're immersed, they can be able to explain.
100%. It is about that immersion. And also, books are such a great tool for transmitting values, for passing down stories that maybe we were told orally. Those are fantastic stories. There's a reason why they've survived for hundreds of years. For stimulation, bright picture books, vivid illustrations. So it's really, it's healthy to get your children to read.
Okay. Okay. For you guys, I mean, as you've been growing the business, what are some of the most, important lessons that you guys have learned while growing this business?
Oh, there's so many. There've been tons. I think I loved what you shared in the beginning about the templates and what have you. When you're bringing people into your business, it's very important to share the original vision of and why did you start? Why is it important? Where are we going? So that they're able to get onto the bus and head in the same right direction as you. So I think that's really, really important. And then you need to be very resilient. It's not going to be easy. Most businesses don't last, don't survive actually. So you really need to be resilient. And how you do that is that you need to take care of yourself. You need to have a good support system. I'm fortunate to have a partner where we discuss everything.
Nice.
We support one another, and without her, I don't think we'd still be around. And I think it's probably the same for her because we support one another. So it's important to have a very good support system. And then you also shouldn't get too stuck. Sometimes if something's not working, just adjust. Be flexible enough to apply creativity. And creativity is not always just like your artsy, innovative things, but it's also just your problem solving. How do you survive if you lose a big client? How do you pivot if you're unable to trade? How do you find many other ways to do what it is you're trying to do? Don't get too stuck on something that might not necessarily be working. Be adaptable.
Now, as just before we finish off, I'd seen that you guys have been in partnership with different corporates. I think one of them was also Wimpy. Am I correct?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that collaboration, and then also how it benefits you, the different types of companies that you're able to collaborate with.
Yeah, so as a fairly small business, we actually couldn't scale without collaboration. Strategic partnerships have been everything to us. and where you're able to find a corporate that has similar values, similar strategic objectives, and you're aligned, it's great to enter into those types of partnerships. So, what Wimpy really enabled us to do is to scale and increase the number of children we were able to impact
Wow.
through the stories. We could never have produced the number of titles or reached the number of kids or
Wow.
printed the number of books
Wow.
that we've been able to do if it wasn't for that kind of partnership. So I think those partnerships are very important when you're trying to scale. The margins in books are very thin. Our original target market was just parents, but it's about thinking wider than that. How do you work with schools? How do you work with the greater ecosystem? How do you work with literacy organizations, with NPOs, with government in order to achieve what it is that you're trying to do?
So, coming like a Wimpy, what did they help you with? Were they making locations available for pop-ups, or what were they?
Oh, so we were literally producing books that would be distributed instead of toys in Wimpy restaurants.
What? You
Yes.
don't say.
You don't know. Yeah, so like for the past 5 years, every year we produced 5 to 4 books using local authors and illustrators. They would be translated into all official languages. 1 year they were even translated into an additional language, Nama.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been, and then they make the books freely available for download off
Sure.
their website. And then even later in our partnership, they started to distribute books in local languages to ECDs.
Oh, wow,
So it
look
was
at
a
that.
very fruitful partnership,
Wow,
and it
look at
worked
that.
because we have the same values. They're all about local language, they're all about family. We are as well, and it was just a match made in heaven.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So for you guys, where do you see Ethnic Kids growing in the next 3 to 5 years? What are you looking at?
Yeah, there's still lots more to do. What we would really like to do more of is publish. There's so many great storytellers and are still to be discovered. We'd like to see ourselves growing in that space and then just increasing our reach and scale. We have a real problem in South Africa, and it's important that we make books as accessible to children as possible and as cool and fun and exciting. So it shouldn't be something that's dreary. We don't want to be the whole bleeding heart. It actually makes its sense. It makes business sense, not just for us, but for us as a country to get our children reading. There's strong readers have better academic performance. They have better mobility in life, better prospects ahead of them. It's in our interests as a country to get our children reading. So that's something that we're very passionate about and we'd like to continue doing.
No, cool. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for having engaged us here. Some of the takeaways that I have from this, I think, first of all, thank you. This is very important work that you're doing. It's one thing, okay, fine, of course, you identified a gap in the market and then you tested to see if there was a market in that gap. And it's not everybody who will continue, just over a decade in a business. So really thank you for that. And this is also something close to all of us, especially parents, because when we grew up, we had the benefit where there's a quote that lived inside of me from a very young age, which is that you will be the same person as you are in 5 years, except for only 2 things. Number 1 is the books that you read, and number 2 is the people you spend your time with. Because those 2 things are within your control. Everything else, I mean, it can be quite difficult, but those 2 things are within your control. And what you guys have done with your business is actually speak to the first part, which is the books that you read, to bring back that imagination, that desire for children to get back to reading, because it's stories that they can identify with. It's language that speaks to them. They can be able to see themselves in the books, to be able to, as we discuss, immerse himself within the material. So really thank you for that. You guys are doing the Lord's work.
Wow, yeah.
No, cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
So monetizers, yes, that brings, before we get to that, if anybody's looking to work with you guys or they want to support the business, how do they go about reaching you or reaching the team? What do they do?
Thank you. They can visit our website at www.ethnikids.africa to purchase books in any language that you'd like to buy. They can also send us an email at inquiries@ethnikids.co.za or contact us via our Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook page.
And Instagram and TikTok is also Ethnic Kids.
Yeah, it's at ethnickids_co.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much for that. So you can be able to reach them there. So that brings us to the end of another episode that we have here on the Monetize Your Business podcast, which we are proud to be in partnership with FNB. Just to let you know as well, make sure to check our socials so that you can see where our next workshops will be as we travel throughout the country with our educational platforms for entrepreneurs as we go through the rest of the country with the rest of the year as well. This has been another episode. Thank you so much again for your time here. And Monetizers, that's been another episode. Thank you so much and cheers for now.